Hi everyone, it's Lindsay and I'm back today with another video, this time on creating a center shaker card. So in order to make this card front, I'm using the digital stamp set from Craft and Desert Divas. It's called Butterfly Garden. There are two different flowers in there. I started off in Photoshop Elements. I had a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch plain new file with a white background, and I just brought in both of those flowers, duplicated them, and lined them up on both edges of that panel that I had. I wanted a nice sized center cutout in the middle, so I made sure that I had about an inch at least in the center that I was able to cut away, or that I will be able to cut away. Then I went ahead and printed this off with my laser printer, and I printed it off with crop marks so I could easily trim this out with my paper trimmer just by lining up those crop marks with my wire guide and then slicing in between the two. Now whenever you're doing this, make sure you don't cut all the way through the paper, because when you do that you're going to cut off your crop marks, then you can't line it up and align it perfectly. So once I had that all completed and cut out, I moved on to coloring. So I am using the June mood board from the social media challenge for Craft and Desert Divas. That is my inspiration for this color palette. So I pulled colors from those photos, and I will leave a link down to the Facebook group so you can see all the different pictures that are in that mood board. And if you want to play along, there are some great prizes to be had. You have until the end of June to enter a card too. So very simple and easy to play along with this. So I grabbed all those colors and I started coloring in my flowers. I'm using some pastel pinks, purples, blues, yellows, and then like more pastel but a brighter spring type of green for all of the leaves, so they all look a little bit more cohesive. So for my blues, I'm just coloring in those first and last flowers on the top and bottom. My center one is the purple. I colored the other flowers pinks with the yellow center, and of course all of my leaves and little stems are all the same color green. So I used that all the way across the board. Once I had it colored in though, it was time to cut out the center. So I brought back out my paper trimmer again, and I just lined this up right with the edge of those flowers. I went about maybe 1/8 of an inch out from that and then just sliced it away. Now I'm going to line this up with the other side of it so I get two even sides, line my wire guide up with that first one that I cut, and then I know I have two even panels that are going to be the exact same size, and I don't have to do any measuring this way. Just a nice easy way to get by without doing any measuring or any math in your head. So once I had those done, it was time to start putting together the shaker. Now I have a piece of 8.5 inch by 11 inch acetate that I cut straight down the middle at 4 1/4. So it's the same size as my card front. I have that, and I didn't cut it any lengthwise, so it's still 11 inches. I have an A2 size craft panel. I have an A2 size top folding card base, and I have a bunch of adhesive. I have 4 pieces of fun foam cut. I glued 2 together to do a double layer, and then for those 2 panels that I cut, I added some double-sided adhesive to the back of those and put those in the middle of that acetate piece, aligned to both edges. So now I've got that clear portion in the center that's going to hold in my sequins. Now right here is where I made a mistake, and I want to go over this so in case you're doing a card like this, you don't make the same mistake, and then you don't have to go and fix it like I had to do. So with my fun foam, I always cut mine just a little bit smaller than my panels, and you can do that width-wise with this card, but you cannot get by with it being any shorter than those 2 panels. You have to make it 5.5 inches long. I didn't do that. I made it a little bit shorter. And if you had a larger sequin mix, you probably could get by with that. But my sequin mix I wanted to use, I had it picked out beforehand. I could have switched it, but I'm stubborn and I didn't want to. So I went in and fixed it. But it had seed beads in it, and those seed beads will fall out any holes. You can see I have a hole right there on the bottom. You have to make sure that you don't have that whenever you're doing this card, because I did have to go back in and fix this. But that's just my mistake. So once I had that fun foam on both sides of that panel, I'm going to go ahead and put this piece of acetate right back in my paper trimmer. If you have a scoreboard, you can use that as well. I use my paper trimmer as my scoring tool, so I don't have to have another tool on hand. right up against the top of those white panels, I'm going to go ahead and put a score mark. And that is going to allow me to fold this acetate back, and I'll fold it back and forth a few times to get a nice crisp edge. And then I'm going to move it out about 1/8 of an inch away from that first score mark, and I'm going to make another score mark. Now that is going to allow me to make a little bit of a square fold so it doesn't wrap around and make a rounded fold. The square fold is going to help you have a nice square card. You can get by with the rounded fold if you want to skip that step. I just like the look of the square fold better on my finished card. So I went ahead and did that, and now I'm just using my scoring tool or my bone folder to go ahead and put that nice crease right in the edge. And there you can see I've got a nice square top on the top of my card. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom as well. Now once I had that done, I went ahead and removed my backing paper from my adhesive on the back of the fun foam, and I'll go ahead and apply some of my embossing bag powder right in the middle of that to reduce any static. Now at this point, I put the craft card panel right on the back, lined it up. It was an A2 size, so very easy to do. And now I'm going to fold that little bit of acetate that's hanging over the back of the craft. That's going to allow it to look like one piece, and you're not going to see that acetate through the back of the card whenever you put in your sequins. So just folding that acetate over the back of another piece of paper. It doesn't have to be craft. You could use white if you want it to look the same, or you could just simply put another piece of acetate over the back. But I wanted to go ahead and make sure that you couldn't see those fold marks or any of my adhesive. So once I had that down, I'm going to go ahead and use this other top to sprinkle in my sequins. So make sure you don't fold both sides in, because you still need to get your sequins in. So I put a little bit of my embossing bag powder right in my sequins and mix it up with a little spoon. There's a close-up view of those sequins. You can see it's got some flowers, some very little sequins, some seed beads, but all of those colors match the colors I used on my card front. And of course, I had pulled those colors too from the June mood board, so it all kind of just went together. I'm using a little baby spoon just to put in some of those sequins right in that top opening. And this is where I started to notice that I had some fallout. Like I said, if you had a larger sequin mix, you're not going to have that. It was just my seed beads, but I didn't want to change it. I liked what I had chosen and I wanted to keep it, so I found a way to fix it. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing that I did on that bottom one with my score marks right on this top fold as well. So I'll go ahead and line it up right with the white panel. I'll put a score mark. Then I'm going to move it out just a little bit after I put these folds in nice and good with a crease mark. I'll move it out about 1/8 of an inch and go ahead and put another little score mark right there so it has a nice square fold on the top. Now I'm going to go ahead and peel off that adhesive that I had already put on there, and that's going to hold in those sequins on the top. If you had the right fun foam, that is. I didn't, so it didn't hold mine in, but that's okay. Now if you had any hangover, you can just use some scissors and clip it all away. Now because I did have those little openings on the top and bottom, I just went ahead and cut about 1/8 of a strip of craft cardstock, put some double-sided adhesive on it, and kind of used it as photo corners on the edges, and that's going to keep my seed beads in. But if you did it the right way, you won't have to do that. That's just how I fixed this card, so I didn't have to tear it all apart. Now to finish this off, I'm just going to put it right onto a card base. I added some double-sided adhesive right on the back of that, and I added 3 pieces. This is a heavy card front, so you do need quite a bit of adhesive if you want it to stay put. Plus you have that slick surface of the acetate, so just make sure that you use a really strong adhesive to mount this onto your card base. Once I have that on the back, I'm going to overlay this onto an A2 top folding white card base that I made from some plain white cardstock. So there you can see, I'll just line that up, and because everything is A2 sized already, it just lays right over the top. I can use my mat to kind of line it up and look straight over the top, and there, that card is good to go. I'm just going to add a sentiment strip right on the top. Now you can decorate the inside if you wanted to. It'd be very cute to add, maybe print off another panel with some of those flowers and maybe a few butterflies and stamp on the inside. And I will do that later on, but this video was long enough the way it was. So I used the flag banner die set to cut a flag from some craft cardstock. I used the Simply Said sentiment stamp set from Craft and Desert Divas to stamp happy birthday right on that little banner. I added some fun foam to the center, double-sided adhesive to both of those little flag ends on both sides, and then I'll just place that right on the top in the center of that panel, and you still have plenty of room to see the sequin shake. But that finishes off the card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, I'm going to leave you with this close-up of this fun shaker card and a few pictures as well. On the left side of your screen, you're going to see a few different links you can click on. The top will take you to a video that you might enjoy watching next. The bottom left will take you to the supply list for this card, and the bottom right will subscribe you to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching today, and happy crafting!